Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So we'll move on to our last moderated question. We all hear about the stories of Chinatown and of Dakota Homes, and particularly of Atlanta, where 6 of 8 killed in the spa shootings were Asian women. We're horrified by what happened, and we can't help but imagine what we would do if we had been in that situation. Will you please share some thoughts on bystander intervention and how we can be allies? What can allies do when confronted with these situations, or perhaps even before, in order to prevent them from happening in the first place?
I guess that's me again going first because it's bystander intervention. Yeah, I mean, when we're looking at the level of violence around, like, for example, the shootings in Atlanta, you know, that's beyond the level of bystander intervention. And so, you know, so at Hollaback, we have a training that is bystander intervention to stop anti-Asian and xenophobic harassment. And we talk about this idea of spectrum of disrespect. And so, you know, your question about what can we do even before to stop these events from happening? And that's the key, is that intervening and supporting each other way before it gets to this level of violence. And so, you know, the what we call the spectrum of disrespect is just like you know, might start with like verbal, name calling, racial slurs, and microaggressions, and those pieces, they're hurtful, absolutely, and they have impacts, and you know, those impacts are real and they're important. And if we don't support and step in to intervene at that point, you know, and allow those type of things to be normalized, or jokes about, you know, Kung flu, Chinese virus, like if those type of things are normalized and accepted and we just kind of brush it off, then it allows increased violence to continue happening. You know, and then there's the fetishization and sexualization of Asian women, and then how it leads to something like Atlanta. And so, you know, looking even at the Canadian statistics in the last year that are report, like, and this is only, you know, for example, in Vancouver, there's a 717% increase in incidents that were reported of anti-Asian racism. And just like any other form of harassment, you know, that's only the amount that was reported. And so we know that there's quite a few that still aren't being reported. And some of the stats out of those pieces, you know, 65% are verbal. So like name calling, racial slurs, threats, swearing, and then 30% are assault. So more like targeted physical violence, spitting. And so, yeah, these are the levels where we need to learn how to intervene and how to support each other. And we do that by, I mean, yeah, like I deliver these trainings for Hollaback, and we talk about the 5 Ds of bystander intervention. And so direct is only one way to intervene, like directly getting in front. You know, there's 4 other methods that we can indirectly intervene and support someone who is being harassed. And the other part of that is that, you know, research shows that supporting, intervening somebody who's experiencing a form of harassment or a form of racism, that it hugely decreases the amount of trauma associated with that moment. And the other stats that we have are 79% of people say that it is helpful, and it's helpful when somebody does intervene, but only 25% of people say that someone actually did intervene. And so that is like where we need to increase. We need to increase that 25% up to 100, you know? And it's just learning how to support each other and take care of each other in society overall.
Yeah, I want to say, so when we keep mentioning 6 Asian women being killed, so they are not only being murdered because of the anti-Asian racism, they are also being killed because of the homophobia. So they are being killed because of that moralistic idea about the woman engaged in sex-related industry, because massage parlor is also being seen as engaged with sex industry. And when we talk about, we concern about the violence, we need to know about what is the biggest violence. It's the systematic violence and the state violence. If you ask any sex worker and massage parlor worker, who are the major source of violence, it's not trafficking. The major source of violence is the police and law enforcement. So by being a bystander, what you can do is you need to stop that systematic violence from law enforcement and the criminalization that give the power to the law enforcement. And this anti-trafficking movement keep eliminate that. So when anti-trafficking organization, they say they need to eliminate sex industry, this is no different with the murder say they want to eliminate this woman because they feel they have the power to have that moral decision that they should not be exist. So when we talk about violence, that we need to address the systematic violence, that why this woman being targeted is not only because of race, because sex work is being seen as bad woman, and because sex work being criminalized, they have no way to get support. And one of the example is like the city of Toronto, the anti-trafficking organization keeps saying that anti-trafficking, we need to shut down the massage parlor. The law enforcement went to the massage parlor to ask the woman to take off the clothes. When they have sexy underwear, they will give them the ticket and shut down the business. Who are the major offenders? When the sex worker being robbed, raped, Butterfly have a lot of report. When they call the police is no concern about who are the perpetrator. They will ask, where are you come from? Give me your passport. Who bring you here? The investigation is not how they are harmed. Is the investigation is who are working with them or whether they're illegal to, deport them. So, and I think that is really, thank you so much. You bring up this question, and we also hear a lot of story when sex worker being assaulted, when they run to the next door, like the neighbor or the shop. They do nothing because they don't want to get into the trouble. Why? Because they're being seen as the bad woman, but they are being seen as organized crime. I see someone post that like the RCMP say that there is like the organized crime we need to address. But we need to know that actually there is a lot of protective measure that the sex worker helping each other. They keep saying police cannot protect us, we can protect ourselves. When sex workers cannot speak English, they have other people speak English to answer the phone, to screen the client, but now they are being seen as traffickers, they will be arrested. When people do not work by themselves, they work together, they are being seen as organized crimes, they will be arrested. So that is something we really need to stop, we really need to change. And we really hope that no matter what is your position on sex work, we really hope that you will support. We have a call, it's called a call of justice. So including no matter you're individual or your organization, particular Asian organization, we have to say we are so disappointed and sad and so frustrated. We have so few Asian organizations really stand up to support sex workers. It's because sex work is not being seen as work. So we just want to say, no matter your value on sex work, this is a good opportunity for you to listen to the story, listen to the voice of the community. We need your support. And should, that when we say the responsibility of bystander, we really call for your help, call for your support, and to stop this systematic violence. Thank you.
pretty hard to go after those two. Yeah. Lyndi and Hollaback, I've actually been to some of your bystander trainings. I know you guys do phenomenal work, and Elene, there isn't really a better way to put, like how problematic the system is and how harmful it is to the people who are affected by it. So, the only thing I can really add to that is to say, like, take the time to educate yourself about, attend meetings like this, hear from more people like Elene and Lyndi, about like how, like cuts through, I guess maybe this is my chance to say something that's actually, helpful to the discussion, but like social media, for example, sensationalizes a lot of things, right? You're missing out on the kinds of stories that like Elene and Lyndi are telling, right? That you're not hearing the full story. You're hearing some like attention grabbing like snippet that is like, and you take that for fact. When in reality, that it's far more complicated, right? It's easy to see like, oh, like organized crime and, sex trafficking, and immediately be like, oh, that's wrong, let's do something about it. But, take the time to like really do your research. And, I guess, again, something I would say is like, we need social media regulations, right? We need to make sure that the information that you're getting is actually useful information and not just, like clickbait, right? Clickbait with like no substance, misinformed, misquoted, sensationalized information. So, through that, we can amplify, voices like we have here, to, give you the full picture, and to ensure that, we're really giving the microphone to the right people.
So this is going to bring it a little bit back full circle, because we started this conversation with social media and we did continue on with it. But now that we're talking about bystander intervention, for a lot of people, bystander intervention is basically maybe filming what's going on and posting it on social media, or as Brian was referring to, clickbait on social media, that 140 characters to say exactly what happens. Do you have any insight on, I mean, is it helpful? Like, does it add to accountability if you're filming to what's going on, but not actually doing anything, but then it's exposing? Or like, is that, I don't know, do you consider that helpful or harmful?
I think so when we train and we talk about documentation, it's not helpful necessarily. So to the person who's experiencing the harassment, if people are just filming it, but not necessarily doing something to support them in the moment, I don't think that is always that helpful. Another one of the methodologies is delay, and that's checking in with the person afterwards. So maybe someone's documenting and then checking in with them. But the other part to documentation is that it really needs to, the power of choice really needs to be put in the hands of the person who is experiencing the harassment and whether or not they want it to be posted. It's not always under their control because, yeah, we're in a public space and this is happening and someone just posts it. But, what we really encourage is that if you are going to document, one, make sure that something else is being done as well, like somebody's going to get help, or somebody is creating a distraction to try and stop the harassment from happening. And two, that it's really important that the person who is experiencing the harassment be given the choice, be given that documentation, whether it's video or photographs, and that they get to choose what to do with it, because it's a moment of trauma. And so when we talk about bystander intervention, the whole point of it is to support that person who is being harassed. And so, we want to give, in that moment when they're being harassed, like it is a powerless moment. And so we want to do what we can to support that person. And one way that we can do it is giving them that documentation so they have that power of choice to do what they want to do with it, whether it's deleting it, whether it's reporting it, whether it's posting it on social media.
Yeah, totally agree. Otherwise, so for many sex workers, actually, sometimes posting in social media is like more traumatized than the accidents and incidents, particularly the concern about the privacy and also the impact, no matter like legal consequence or like the social consequence. Yeah. So and I think that your point about the choice is so important. And I also see someone say that like whether sex worker, if there is enough social support that they can do other employment. And I think that is also go back to the choice. Everyone should have right to design the body. And so that is the slogan called My Body, My Choice. So that sex work is work. So this is the decision of that person, is not our decision. So even there is, of course, there is important to have different social support. People do not need to do anything because of the economic circumstances, but people still have power and rights to decide what to do. So, thank you.